Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to show you how I use FreeCAD to make indexed milling on a CNC with a 4th axis installed. As you can see, I have a model here, a hexagonal model with various types of holes on each of the faces, and I'm going to mill it from a round stock and also make the holes in just one file that I'm going to run on my machine. This way saving a lot of time and making everything as smooth as possible. Because I'm using FreeCAD and FreeCAD doesn't have this built in, I'm going to use a couple of tricks which I believe can be applied in a lot of other programs if you are using something different and don't have this option for indexed milling on the 4th axis. You might find useful information here on how to do it in that program. Before moving on, I want to thank everybody that's supporting me, be it on my YouTube channel or on my Patreon page. The link to the page is available in the description of each video that I post. You will get a collection of free macros. You can download them by just visiting the page. Then you can support me through a one-time thanks, be it a big $10 thanks or a small $3 thanks. You can also book a support session, either a 1 hour, maybe if you have a small issue that you need to solve. If you want a complete course, I have an option for a 15 hours meeting. It's an online meeting. We can set it up through whatever platform you are comfortable with. After booking it, we decide when exactly to have those hours of online support. One more thing that you can find on my Patreon page is a collection of the videos on my YouTube channel, which all the supporters, no matter the tier, can view without any interruptions, both in the FreeCAD collection and in the Blender CAM. And for each video you will also find attached the file that I have created in the video in case you need to study it further. Thank you all for supporting me. Now let's move on to our video. So this is the body that we are going to mill today. As you can see, it is wrongly placed. It is placed along the y-axis. It's also not perfectly aligned. It is a little bit tilted to the left. The first thing that I'm going to do is position it correctly when creating the job, to have the origin in the center of the stock that I'm going to use, to have the body correctly aligned along my x-axis, because that's the way the rotary axis is aligned, and to rotate the object in the starting position with one of the faces straight up. Let's get started. I'm using an orthographic view. Maybe perspective would be a little bit better so we can see easier. You can see here in the right corner the axis, the x-axis, the y-axis and the z-axis upwards. But I would really like to have the axis cross in the center of the document. So let me show you how to make that visible in FreeCAD. Go to Edit, Preferences, here go to Display, and I have this checkbox, Show Axis Cross by default. Click on the OK button and now you can see the axis cross, so this will be the origin. The object is somewhere in the negative y. Let's correctly position it in order to be able to make the G-code to go to the CNC. First thing that I'm going to do is select the object in the tree, go to Edit, Placement, and make a rotation of 90 degrees around the z-axis. Click on the OK button and now it is correctly aligned along the x-axis. But I still have to position it correctly in the origin, to have the origin in the center, since I'm using a rotary axis, an indexed milling on the rotary axis. But to do that, I'm not going to position the object itself, but I'm going to create the job and the models in the job. As you might know, if you don't know, when creating a job, you will have some clones of the object that you are going to use to set the actual operations for milling. So let's select the object, click on this button, which is job. Of course, I'm in the CAM workbench. If you are not in the CAM workbench, go first to the CAM workbench. Click on the job button to create a new job. Make sure the body is selected, is checked here in the list. And I have a count here, which is the number of occurrences of the object that I want to mill. This is important. This time, most of the times I don't change this value. Of course, I want to mill one piece. But this time it is important, and I'm going to show you in just a couple of seconds why. But first, let me tell you how many counts I'm going to use. The object is a hexagonal object, so I'm going to mill 6 faces. I will use a count of 6. For each of the faces that I'm going to mill, I will have a copy of this exact object. So let's click on the OK button. to open the job edit dialog. And since I'm going to rotate the object, I don't want any extension, or maybe I could use extensions, but I want all the extensions to be the same. I will go with a 0. Here on the z-axis I have an extension of 1. This is the default for my setup. I will explain in another video why I'm using such a default value, but now let's change that to 0 to make the stock exactly a box around the object that I'm milling. Let me set a left view. You can see the object is a little bit tilted to the right. Well, when we are going to rotate the object to set it for the default for the first part of the indexed milling, the stock is going to change, and I'm going to show you how to update that at that exact moment. But for now, let's leave things just as they are with an extension of 0 on all the ends of all 3 axes. Now let's set a toolbit. Go to the Tools tab, click on the Add button, and I will use a 3.175mm end mill, which is a 1/8 of an inch. After adding it to the list, I need to set the horizontal feed speed and the vertical feed speed. Also, I need to set a spindle speed, which is going to be 19,000 RPM. I can now select the default tool, which has no speeds, has no diameters, no nothing. I can click on the remove button, and now I only have the toolbit that I'm going to use. If you don't have the proper dimension of toolbit in the list of toolbits on your machine, and you don't know how to add a new dimension of one of the pre-existing shapes, such as this end mill, you can find here a video about how to create all those end mills that you are going to use. After adding the toolbit, I'm not going to change anything in the job edit, leave them as default. It works just okay for what we want. Click on the OK button. And now how do I set the origin of the machine in the center of the object that I'm milling? The first thing that I need to do, as I've shown you earlier, the object is a little bit tilted, and anyway none of the faces is facing upwards. I need one of them to face upwards in order to be able to mill the face and the holes in it. But it is randomly rotated. How can I easily find that angle? Let's select the stock here in the job, press space to turn its visibility on, go to the measuring tool, change the mode from auto to angle, click on reset just in case something was already selected, and now I will select this line and the edge of the stock, which I know is horizontal, and I have an angle of 31.54799 degrees. I don't need to remember this value. I can copy it from here, press Ctrl C, and now I can close the measuring tool, select all the objects in the tree, holding Shift or Ctrl and selecting each of them one by one, go to the edit menu again, go to placement, make sure to check apply incremental changes, and I need it rotated around the x-axis, so I'm going to write this value here. But it didn't do what it was meant to do, because I need to actually rotate it counterclockwise, so write a minus between this value. Now, as you can see, the object is correctly placed with this face upwards. Click on the apply button, now click OK. After rotating all the objects in the initial position, I can see that the stock is not correctly placed. It's somewhere off the object, but that's easily fixable. Let's double click on the job to edit its parameters to change the stock to be in the correct position. Double click on the job, and here in the setup tab, the stock section, I have extend models bounding box as we have set it up earlier. I have a button refresh, which will move the stock in the correct position. One thing that I need to set is the origin, but I want the origin to be in the center of the stock, because this is a symmetric object, it's a hexagon, so I might use its face to set the origin in the center of this face. But what if I have an L-shaped object, let's say? I wouldn't be able to do that. I want the origin to be in the center of the stock, of this face of the stock, but I cannot select this face. Let's fix that. Let's close this job edit dialog and fix that problem in order to be able to select the face of the stock. Click on the OK button, select the stock in the tree. Here, instead of the data tab, go to the view tab, and the display mode, which is wireframe now, should be flat lines. You can now see that the stock is visible just as any other object in FreeCAD. with a little transparency of course, but that doesn't really matter. I can select the face. After doing this change, double click on the job again, and now I can select this face of the stock, click on set origin, and the origin will be automatically placed in the center of that face. This is something really useful. I didn't know until a little time ago. Instead of selecting a point, you can select a face and click on the set origin button, which will set the origin in the center of that face. So now everything is set up. Let's start creating our indexed operation. First, close the job dialog. And I want to do something. I've created all these clones of the object. I have selected 6 copies in order to have one for each of the angles that I'm going to use. So if I do that, I think it would be okay to rename them all, to name them for the corresponding angle. So select each of them and press F2. Let's call it rotation 0. Next one is going to be rotation 60, and so on up to rotation 300. I have all the objects renamed, so it's rotation 0, 60, 120, 180, 240 and 300 degrees. Of course it's a simple hexagon. If you don't know exactly the angle of a face, it's just as simple as I've shown you in the beginning of the video. When rotating all the objects to have one of the face perfectly flat, just measure the angle and use that angle to have the rotation. But the objects are not actually rotated. So I will go to the data tab, select each of them one by one, of course not the first since it is a 0 degrees rotation. Select it, go to edit, placement, check the apply incremental changes, otherwise you will end up with some weird values because the object is already rotated. You might find a way to understand all this, but I think it's much easier like this. Check the apply incremental changes. And let's rotate it around the x-axis. I want it to be rotated clockwise, so I'm going to use a negative value, minus 60. Click on the OK button, select the rotation 120, go to edit, placement, minus 120, go to rotation 180, edit, placement, check the apply incremental changes, rotate it to minus 180 around the x-axis, click on the OK button. And now I will show you something that you need to know, because if I select the rotation 240, go to edit, placement, check the incremental changes, when I try to write here minus 240, I will simply not be able to write that. That is because using incremental changes only allows you to rotate up to 180 degrees, but it's pretty easy. I will first rotate it with 180 degrees, click on apply, and I still have a 60-degree rotation out of the total of 240, so minus 60, click on OK, and now everything is okay. I will do the same for the 300, so edit, placement, check the incremental changes, minus 180, apply, and now minus 120 degrees. I can close this. And if I take a look at the object, you can see that I have a lot of mess here. It looks kind of weird, but we are going to solve that in just a couple of minutes. First, I forgot to do something, which is change back the visibility of the stock with wireframe. Otherwise, I will have a lot of problems trying to select faces. So go to view. After making sure the stock is selected, change the display mode from flat lines to wireframe. Now everything is back at the initial way it was. I can also hide the visibility of the stock. I don't really need it anymore. Now let's start creating the indexed operation. Let's make the operations for the first face, and then we will move on to make the operations for each of the other faces. I will show you how to create the G-code in order to have the rotation and to have everything in just one file. So let's create the operations for the first face, which is going to be at 0 degrees. Let's move back to the data tab because we are going to use the data tab a lot. Hide all the objects except the rotation 0, select them and press space. And now I have only the initial object, the one in the starting position. I'm going to use a millface operation for the entire face and probably a helix for these two holes. Let's create the first one, the millface operation. I will select the face, And this is important to select the face. You will see right away why this is very important. Click on the millface operation and suddenly everything has turned visible. All the objects are now visible. Selecting this exact face from the rotation 0 object would be very difficult. As you can see, if I hover the mouse, there's a different face selected. It's random, it's just a matter of luck to select the correct face. So select the face before invoking the operation button, the millface operation button. When I click on the apply button, you can see that nothing happens. Let's make some settings to make the millface operation actually work. The first one is change the boundary shape from bound box to face region. I will use an offset pattern with a step over % of 80 and check the clear edges because I don't want some roundovers on the corners. Now if I click on the apply button, you can see a good, almost good millface operation. I probably should also use min travel to save some time, but I have a little problem here which occurs with the offset operation. Some lines are very close to each other, which is not a good thing, and that can be solved by lowering or increasing the step over % a little. Let's try with 81%, 82, this also doesn't work, 83, and probably 84% should remove one of these lines in the center. And now, even though I still have some more than 80%, 84% step over, this should be enough, and I'm saving quite some time if I'm doing this, because for each of the face I would have one movement from one end to the other and back, less than with the 80% step over. Maybe I can try going downwards from the 80%, let's try 75%, and I have a very small line there. If I increase it to 76%, I now have an optimal number of passes. This will decrease the time quite significantly for the entire job. So now the millface operation is ready. Click on the OK button. I still have an issue here because it raises the cutter head for each of these passes. I want to change that, so go to the operation, select the millface. In the data tab, in the pocket group, I have this option, keep tool down, which is not available in the normal dialog, but you have it here. And let's set the keep tool down to true, and it will reduce some of the movement. Sometimes it doesn't do it all the time, I'm not sure why. Probably it will be fixed in the future. Now after setting the millface operation, I will disable it, I will turn it inactive in order to be easier to see everything here. Again, hide the visibility for the other objects, keep just the rotation 0. I will select the two faces of these two holes, holding Ctrl down, and create a new helix operation. Let's set the start from 2 inside, the step over to 80, but I have some errors here, and that is because I have no base geometry. Even though I selected these two, I have to click the add button. And now I have the two holes here with the correct diameter. Click on the apply button, and now you can sort of see some Gcode here, because again FreeCAD turned the visibility for all the objects in the job, which is kind of annoying, but that's the way it works. If I hide them, you can now see the toolpath for the helix, which is exactly as it should be. I will also disable this operation for now because I want to be able to see everything that I need to set up. But I forgot one thing which is very important, not in this step. In the initial step it can be whatever, but sometimes it happens the axis is not set to 0 degrees, and I want to start from that position, otherwise everything will get messed up. As I've told you, and as you might know, there's no such thing as moving the axis by default in FreeCAD, except for the 3D surface operation, which I'm not going to use. But I have an option which I'm going to take advantage of in order to have the correct rotation for the axis. You need to know a little bit Gcode, but it's just a basic command, a G0 command. In order to set the correct position, to set the A to 0, I will select the job, go to the CAM menu, go to supplemental commands, and here I have a custom option. Again, FreeCAD turned the visibility for everything on, which is really annoying, but again, that's not something that can be changed right now. in the custom operation I can write simple G-code. I'm going to write G0 space A0. This will move the rotary axis to the 0 degrees position. Click on the OK button, but it does it after the two operations. I can either drag it and move it to the top, but sometimes you might end up with this somewhere else, so the safest way is double click on the job, go to work plan, select the custom and click on this arrow twice to make it be the first one in the tree. With the correct order set, I can close the job dialog, and I want to do something, just a detail to help me remember what I did here when I'm going to open this file, let's say a few months later. Rename the custom object to A0, and I'm going to do this for all the positions. Now we have everything set up for the initial positioning of the object. Now let's rotate it in order to create an actual indexed operation. The second step is just as the first one, except we are going to use the rotation 60 body, and we are going to start with another custom command. So go to the CAM menu, supplemental commands, custom, and this time I'm going to write G0 space A60, because this is going to be the 60 degrees rotation, but as you remember, we've rotated things counterclockwise. So instead of 60, I'm going to use A minus 60. Click on the OK button, let's rename it A minus 60 and select the rotation 60. Probably I should also rename this, but I'm not going to do it now. Hide the visibility for all the other objects. Now let's take a look at the rotation 60. It consists of this face and this little pocket. For the mill face, I'm going to just copy the operation that I've created for A0, and I'm going to show you a little trick, because you will also face some problems when trying to select the faces, because all these objects will be visible. And let me show you how to do this without interfering with the other objects. First select the operation, click on the copy operation in the job button, and now I have this one which is called millface 001. If I double click on it and try to go to base geometry, you can see I have the same mess again, so this is not the way to go. Let's click on the cancel button, and instead of selecting the face and creating the operation again, as I've told you, I don't want to do that, I don't want to lose the time. I have in the data tab, in the path group, the base. So click on these three little lines. As you can see, the base was from rotation 0. I want to click on the clear button, select the face that I want to mill in this operation, click on the OK button, and now I can recompute everything. Let's also enable the mill face operation to check everything is okay. It is okay. Of course, all the mill face operations are exactly the same, but this is very useful to know in case you have different faces, different objects, and I will show you for the next rotation. I will create a pocket operation now, and I will reuse all the settings with this simple little trick. Now let's disable the operation again, select the bottom face of this hexagon here that is cut out, and this time I'm going to create a pocket shape operation. Click on the button, let's make all the settings, the pattern to offset, the step over to 80%, check the min travel button, click on the OK, and I also want to select it, and from the data tab change the keep tool down from false to true. This will reduce a little bit of up and down movement, and everything will be faster. So now I have the operations for the A60. Let's disable this one too. Let's add the A120. Go to CAM, supplemental commands, custom, G0A-120. Click on the OK button. Now let's hide the objects except the rotation 120. This time I have just a mill face operation. As you can see, I have no helix, pocket or another operation. So let's rename the custom 002 to A-120. It's much easier to understand what's going on. Then select the mill face operation, click on the copy button, select the new mill face from the list, go to path and base, click once and then click on the three little dots, move this from the view, click on the clear button and then select the face make sure the rotation 120 is selected in the list, then click on the OK button. Everything should be fine right now. Since I don't have any other operation, I can move on, go to the CAM menu again, supplemental commands, custom, G0 space A minus 180 degrees, click on the OK button, rename the object, A minus 180, and now let's hide everything except the rotation 180. Again, I have a simple operation for this face, it's just a flat face. So select the previous millface operation, copy, go to the new operation and change the base, clicking clear and then selecting the new face and clicking OK. As you can see, there's nothing visible, there's no Gcode visible. That is because the operations are disabled, and I'm going to leave them just as they are because it's much easier to see everything. And in the end, I'm going to show you how to make everything work as it should and how to check it to make sure everything is okay. Now let's create the next rotation, the next index, CAM, supplemental commands, custom, G0 space A minus 240. Click on the OK button and rename the operation A minus 240. Let's hide all the objects except the corresponding one, the rotation 240. This time I'm going to have a pocket operation. So let's copy the mill face first and change the base. Clear, then select the face, click on OK. And for this one I'm going to use a pocket, so select the pocket, the last pocket that I have created, well, any pocket that I want to have the exact same options. Click the copy operation, again select the operation, go to base, click on the three little dots, click on the clear button and then select the face, recompute the operation, and everything should be okay. Just to make sure, I will enable this operation right now. As you can see, everything is exactly as I want. So disable it again to be able to move to the last rotation, the 300 rotation. So CAM, supplemental commands, custom, G0 A minus 300. Click on the OK button, rename the operation. Then hide all the rotation objects except the 301. Now I can copy the mill face and the pocket shape operation because I'm going to have a mill face and a pocket for this rectangular hole. So select them both, click on the copy, and now let's change the base for each of them. First the mill face, select the new face, click on the OK button, and then do the same for the pocket shape operation. Click on the three little dots, click on clear, select the face, and then click on the OK button. Now everything should be okay. What I still need to do is export the G-code, then check if everything is okay. I cannot do that in FreeCAD because let's turn on all the operations. So select the bottom one, hold shift, press on this button which is toggle the active state. And here I have a problem. As you can see, I have two problems actually. As you can see, all the operations are stacked one on top of each other and the A0 operations have been disabled. I've mistakenly left them enabled, and when clicking this button, since it's called toggle the active state, it turned them disabled. I don't want that, so select them from the list, making sure I don't select anything else, and then toggle their state again. Now I can select the job, click on the post-process button, click on the OK button, and let's export the file, index10c. I already created it, of course, to test everything before making the video. That's why it was asking me to overwrite the file. Now let's open Universal Gcode Sender and make sure everything looks as it should. After that, we can move on to the CNC, set up the stock in the rotary axis and try to see if everything works as it should. Of course, it will work, but before that, let's make sure it looks okay in Universal Gcode Sender. It takes a little bit of time to show the preview. It looks exactly as it should. Everything should be fine. Let's move on to the CNC and make the actual milling. Thank you all, don't forget to subscribe to get notified whenever I post a new video. By the way, the next video is going to be about how I set up my fourth axis, my rotary axis, the A axis, how I set up everything on the CNC table to have it aligned as good as possible. I will also explain how I did the wiring, and I will explain how I made the settings in Fluid NC, which applies to any type of GRBL controller. Thank you for watching and see you next time.